times. So, all right. So this is Pitbull's proper build. This is the absolute sniper build, right? This is you've got the spotting aircraft up for, and it's got the extra hang time because of the modification here, fire reduction, damage control, whatever. Artillery plotting room for the extra range. Now, when you're firing at things that are closer than max range, what this actually does is helps with your vertical dispersion, which is why we call it like the ultimate sniper setup. Makes you your shells that much tighter as they come in vertically. And then rudder shift time, okay, and then concealment, and then artillery plotting room for better shell dispersion on top of the other plotting room. I didn't catch this on the stream, but steering gear. So that allows for Pitbull to adjust his rudder that much quicker to get his entire ship to turn to get those shells on target. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's primarily just what each player likes to use to dodge.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm someone who, yeah.
Especially now that Vermont has that built-in acceleration. Like, I think if you're not playing in a position where it's very likely to get farmed out, the rudder makes a lot of sense. Because your biggest threats are usually torpedoes versus, you know, actually just getting farmed and run down.
That's a good point. And I always feel like it's better to dodge the incoming hate than to take it and just take less flooding or fire.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look now. Big O, thank you for the resub. Holy crap. I don't know which captain. I don't know if there's any that matter. Well, one of the Americans, probably. Ah, here we go. It's got to be Halsey or the Doze for the commander skills, because we got...
Yeah, you get some big stuff with Halsey.
Yeah, the expert loader is huge for Vermont.
Yes. The buffed expert loader or gun feeder is 60% reduction to shell switching time. Grease the gear, so extra quick scope with your turrets. Adrenaline rush makes sense too. You start taking damage, you fire quicker. Swift, brisk. We talked about this on the stream. When you're brisk, it allows you to go faster, but tie that in with the acceleration. It could potentially mean you get out of dodge from shells and torpedoes that much quicker too. And then your typical...
Our battleship players run into each other.
I'm sorry, say that again?
In our case, that just means our battleship players run into each other off spawn.
That's true. And then you have concealment, fire prevention, and then emergency repair. All the stuff you'd expect in a tanky battleship. For signal flags, ramming, no debt, fire extinguishing, flooding extinguishing time, heal booster, secondary is interesting. Ship speed and ship consumables. All the flags are free. You might as well take another flag. What else are you going to take besides that for your secondaries? I don't know. So, sure. Makes sense. All right, let's look at the replay. Here we go. So, since we're looking at the BONKZ perspective, Obi or optix, would either of you like to talk about your initial lineup here and thinking for deployment?
You want it, or you want me to do it optics?
Sure, I'll go for it. Essentially what we always like to do here is have some presence in B, so we're trying to do that in this specific game as minimally as possible with Des Moines Daring.
Okay.
We have been playing hard at A most of the tournament, so this game we decided to sort of switch it up and push 9-10 line. So that'll be our Kremlin, Moskva, Salem, and Shima going out there. Then the A side is just going to be played sort of minimally with the Brisbane and a gearing smoke, and then the Vermont kind of sitting above AB.
Yeah, if I remember right, in this battle, you guys had opposing gearing Brizzy combos that just kept on luck-chucking torps at each other for pretty much the entire match.
Yeah, it was a slap fight.
Yeah.
I think that happened in all 3 games.
I think you're right. Okay, Mr. Bean, if you wouldn't mind, tell us about your guys' plan for NOCAP and you know, your ship choices and stuff.
Well, ironically, we had been playing heavier day all tournament until this battle as well.
Go figure.
Yeah, and we were like, you know what? We've ran one of our strats 5 or 6 times at this point. They've probably seen it. And they're pretty good at just, you know, bringing gumos and farming the crap out of some of our cruisers. We didn't want to bring our tested one, so we just decided to just go heavy 9-10 and see what happens.
I don't want to interrupt you for too long, but just to add a little bit of context here is we played each other last week, and NOCAP beat us. And then because they ended up on the other side of the bracket, we decided to scrim each other during the week before this weekend. So we had seen each other play basically every map by this point. So that's why on our side we decided to try to switch it up.
So you two basically out big brained each other into this setup here.
Mutual big brain.
Yeah, exactly.
The biggest brain.
It's like if any of you guys watch Star Trek Next Generation, there's a part where Data goes, knowing that they know what we're going to do, we should maybe do this, but knowing that they know that we know that they know, maybe this would happen. You start like outthinking yourself in the process and continually second guessing things. All right. So Pitbull, of course, is in a position that gives him a kind of a commanding area over A, and then also that area south of BC, kind of where that Moskva and Vermont are, huh?
I believe you're talking about Murica there.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep doing that, but you're right, Murica. As Pitbull goes the opposite direction, he's going more towards Seaside.
Yeah, we're putting him down there to get some shots of opportunity at A if he really gets them, but primarily have him going and looking at that 9-10 line, looking for shots and waiting for them to back up.
Gotcha. Okay. So we've got I mean, you can even see it in the distance, right? That the death snail's out there. You guys have it all mapped out. You know when you're going to do it. They know when you're going to do it, and et cetera, et cetera. So the torpedoes fly, and nothing happens. So from a caster perspective, a lot of times we focus on the other side of the map. I try to, be able to poke up every now and then. But I think the key to what's happening here right now early is CCAP is being capped. You guys don't know who it is. Radio location from Todd Howards is trying to put it out there and saying, hey, we've got something there. What did you guys think it was?
So you just saw the gearing torpedoes from them go into our Brisbane smoke. And we originally thought it was the gearing at sea because we didn't expect the Haru to just like run straight into sea like that. So we were assuming it was gearing over on sea until we saw the gearing torps, and then we realized it was Haru.
Yeah. Okay. Because the daring is going to be at B. It's already been spotted for you guys, so okay.
Right. Everything else was spotted. So it was process of elimination at that point.
Now here comes Todd Howard's short torpedoes. Now these are 20-kilometer torpedoes, so they get spotted from orbit. Bean's got the. I'm gonna go back to your shot for a second. Bean's got the radar going, detecting Todd, and this ridiculous. Guys, look at this range, 28.3 kilometer. Waka detected, and immediately shells went out. I mean, it was like, you guys heard it, and he got all 4 salvos off. This is a replay bug with the turrets, by the way. That's why they look kind of weird. And those shells are going to come right behind Waka Flocka, I think. Oh, no. First Citadel. 1 hit, 1 Citadel.
Murica put a salvo about an inch behind by Moskva as I was getting in position there, too.
Earlier, yeah.
Really good shots this game.
Yeah, America had a big impact.
So now look at this. He fires 2 to see what Waka does. Is he going to back up? Is he going to stop? Seeing that he's going to back up, he goes ahead and fires again. And he got juked that time. Very smart maneuvering by Waka Flocka there. All right, now
he's just dead at this point. He's got the Kremlin staring him down. We have no way to get this Vermont off of him.
So those shots actually serve like a double purpose. It's also letting the Des Moines know, like, hey, I'm looking at you. You cannot back up. So it kind of pins in place for, like, at this point we've already called that Des Moines is going to be what we're going to try to pick off the board here first. So Vermont's basically making sure that he cannot disengage from behind. So he's got to deal with what's in his front.
I used to love doing this in clan battles on like Tears of the Cruiser and stuff, like hitting Moskva points, and yeah, I know exactly what you mean. With those shells coming in, if he backs up, he knows his death. He's either got to sit there and hope for a smoke, or he's got to advance and pray. But Hermit Seppuku is right there in the Kremlin. He's about to smack Waka in the face, I think, in the salvo here.
Yeah, the Gumo is hightailing it over to him, but he's not gonna get there in time.
Yeah. Well, he kind of does, doesn't he? Or is it no? It's a Salem as well that's over there. Lothair. We'll see him momentarily, but Waka's got to die first. That's what happens. That's right. There he is. He just popped up, almost on cue. Lothair's like, my turn. Mr. Bean, you said that you dodged those Shima Torps and you started moving forward to dodge, and as a result, you just kept going?
I kind of just found myself on the little tip of that island, just with the butt of my boat right against it. And then I decided to do what can only be described as the worst possible maneuver and start pushing forward for shots on the 10 line, because once Waka goes down, we know we don't really have the DPM for it.
Yeah.
So I figured, oh, it's a Des Moines. He's gonna kill me eventually, but
yep,
if I push forward, should get enough time to take the heat off and just get enough DPM that we can make something happen out there.
Okay. More Vermont shells incoming on Waka Flocka, although I think he's going to die before that. For NOCAP Bean, you guys all said we're going to focus on, I'm guessing, Admiral Tester's Moskva first?
Yeah, because he's the one that really can't go dark, right? That's Salem. If we focus to Salem and he wants to go dark, he just goes dark, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
So
Plus he's got the super heal, so
he can't go dark.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you see our smoke going up, but it's not going to matter.
Just at the worst possible moment to just blow that smoke completely, and it's useless at that point. I remember that. Okay, so Bean, continue to move forward. You're spotted by, I don't know, Fratstar, by the way. I was really surprised he played so far back. Normally that Des Moines position, they're playing more aggressive, but I'm sure you guys were concerned about the daring torpedoes, yeah?
I think at this point, we're just more looking for the Moskva in C and talking about whether we want to turn him around and just send him to C.
Okay.
Yeah, we hadn't actually seen the like, we knew he was there and probably far back, but we hadn't actually seen him in a little while.
Right, and so pretty soon you're about to see him and you're just going to say a few words.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
all
right.
I thought I was going to be able to take less damage there than I did, but...
That DM spot also early game is very much a raider buoy. At least that's how we play it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense, because too far forward, daring torps, cross map, punch in the face. Too far back, radar's not available. You got the channel exposure from stuff south of sea, so, you know, I mean, you've got like a couple of pixels of width on either side, and you're just kind of stuck, right? But Murica continuing to back up. He wants to support at A, but I'm sure you guys are kind of saying, oh, wait, no, this is the part where Julio Guapo moved around.
Right. So what you hadn't seen, because you were on the other side of the map, is we had been pinging that Daring was rotating, and I was pinging that his RPF was on the other side of the island. So you'll see EU and the Brisbane set up to try and push him off.
Mm-hmm. And you're back there to butt spot him anyways, so to force him to smoke and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay. And at this point, Murica is changing targets. Why not shoot the thing that's closer that can also just go splat?
Right. And this is where I actually think I make a bit of a mistake. So I tank the Brisbane radar, and we know the Daring is there, and I back up and needlessly spot the Daring, knowing that EU is not in a good position. And I give away about 5k HP, which almost comes back to bite me later.
I remember that moment because I saw that and I'm thinking, what is he doing? You know?
Yeah, the original was, well, okay, we'll push the Daring off, but we kind of realized after we made that call that we really didn't need to hold A when we were going to get, hopefully, B and C. We were always a delaying force at A.
Now, right, and that makes sense with the way you guys were set up. Now, Lothair does take out Tester's Moskva, so now it's for NOCAP, it's all guns on the Salem. Is that what you guys are thinking, Mr. Bean?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you're not going to kill the Kremlin there.
Well, this is the YOLO on the Kremlin's coming up, isn't it?
Yep.
We're getting there soon.
Yep. I just wanted to stay for one last Murica Salvo. I was just curious on this one. You didn't know if you were going to stop or keep going. And Bean, I was surprised that you slowed down there for a moment.
I was going to see if I could sit, but...
Ouch.
Yeah, it's a shame you picked this replay. You picked my worst game of playoffs.
Well, you know, things happen. Mistakes happen. You know, you everybody's watching. That's when you screw up. I've done that myself, right? I even called out. I said, I know Mr. Bean is a really good cruiser player, so we kind of scratched our heads for a second there. But when you told me, okay, the torpedoes kind of force you to go that way, it happens.
And yeah, we were really hoping we could rush the Kremlin like right now, but our Gumo's torps were on cooldown and his torp reload booster was on cooldown. So we knew we didn't quite have the alpha to hit him, so we had to wait a couple. Like at this point he needed 45 seconds to reload or something.
Yep.
Yeah, because there come the first set, so maybe it was in a minute at this point. So this is when we really wanted to rush him, but we kind of got stalled another 30 seconds, which is going to allow that daring who's coming over, and we're going to trade a ship because the daring's going to be able to pick him off.
Right. A very smart decision to rotate the daring, by the way. Now, one thing that I commented on here, you can see in the background there's a smoke screen there. What you can't see in this replay is that Lothair is basically right between both islands, almost as if he's not sure if he should back up to where he was or move forward and grab the next island in front of him. Mr. Bean, do you have any idea what the decision-making was for Lothair right there in that Salem?
Primarily that we have one cap. We don't really have a great way to get B. So we need to make something happen, and we know that the Gumo's pushing up. So if the Gumo gets the kill on the Kremlin, and we can sit our Salem on the next island, we can keep their Salem out of the game forever.
Okay, so you're trying to get him to the next island so he can focus on Salem action while Kremlin goes, dies, and the other Kremlin kills their Salem Chukwama. Makes sense. I understand completely. Okay. Because the reason I'm bringing that up is because it felt like, we'll take a look, but it felt like Lothair didn't do that. Felt like he just kind of sat there in the middle until the smoke screen ended. Then he's like, oh crap, I forgot I was going to go. But we'll see. Maybe it didn't work out that way. It's hard when you're casting.
He's looking for shots of this Kremlin the whole time, right? So we're not sure if he's going to go forward or back up or anything like that, because he's looking for shots to help out Strong with this.
And if the Kremlin goes forward, he can't go forward because he'll lose the island. He'll have the island between him and the Kremlin. So he wants to sit there, guns ready, especially AP ready, I would imagine, to try to AP down Kermit's Kremlin. Okay. Got it. Makes sense.
It's worth noting also that we've pretty much lost track of the Harugumo at this point.
You really have. You know the smoke's there. Are you guys thinking the Harugumo continued forward, like behind that island, or you think he might have
a while? I don't remember if one of the RPFs alerted us a little bit ahead of time, or it was until we saw him here in a bit. But we thought he was going to stay around the Salem.
Okay. So Salem spotted Lothair. There he is, and then here comes the plane, and here comes the shot. Full shot. Wow. Okay, Lothair slowing down. Wow.
We've destroyed an enemy
That
cruiser.
shot was incredible.
Yeah, it's a nice shot right there.
So this is why I asked for this replay and to go over this game. Not to make anybody look bad, but to just understand that I always said shells at that range, they have an in-flight meal, and you guys can see why. I mean, that was a long shell flight time. Prick smash.
This series between us, like going back 2 years now, has
Mhm.
had a lot of good shots in them. I remember the first time we played NOCAP and KOTS, we were still playing with GGWP, and that year we were running a GLHF team on Northern Waters.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Not this
I
game.
think it was a
No.
Montana Yamato hit a god shot on one of our sailors Des Moines on ACAB.
It was like a 28
9
kilometer. Yeah. That was a game that was like 996 points.
Yeah.
And the Yami came around and got our Des Moines with like 1 second
that
left
game
in the
was
game.
still the most butt clenching game I've ever played.
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know, as casters, Raptor and I remember some games too, but obviously as players, you guys remember quite a bit, and that's really cool to see. You know, 2 years later, you're still thinking back on some of these games. Now here comes the Gumo's YOLO Rush. Obviously, obviously, Mr. Bean, you knew this was coming, and for those of you over on the bonk side, you weren't quite sure, but you probably figured something like this might happen.
Yeah, we gave it a high probability because that's the play, right? You have to make a play to win 9-10, and that's the piece they had to play.
So we're gonna watch the Kremlin's perspective. This is Kermit. And what we could not believe, I was using the consumable monitor. There's the shots.
Yeah,
right
they knocked
into-
out his torps here, I think.
Yeah.
Or like they
Yeah, so I was
incapacitated him or
spectating
something.
Kermit here, and I saw something get knocked out, but I didn't know what it was. I guess it was a torp tube.
It was the torps because Fubar commented on it.
I mean, look at all that HE right there on the launcher. Or actually, no, there's the launcher. And what's interesting is, okay, so obviously he's going to DCP pretty quick then in order to try to bring the torpedoes back. There's the DCP.
Yep, right there.
All right, torpedoes are back. He's going to fire them. And then, of course, he's got the reload booster. Now, when I was looking at the consumable monitor, the reload booster wasn't available. And then, all of a sudden, I see another rack of torpedoes come out. Like, complete miracle. Look at the hit points. 642, 553, 0. And oh, look, there's torpedoes.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced they were fired.
Yeah,
I
we
was
didn't think we
watching
got him
them.
off either. So I was like, oh,
We
Kermit
didn't
lives.
think
And then
so.
he's like, nope.
Same thing from our side. We saw those torps, all of a sudden we're like, hey, it's like that little 1 second click, as Raptor mentioned. As soon as you fire the torps, they go. Whereas way back when, many of you guys that started with warships a long time ago, years ago, remember, if you died while shooting torpedoes, only the ones that actually left.
Left the tubes
Yeah.
counted, yeah.
But now it's the other way around, and that cost Seppuku his life.
And those torps took way too long to get there. Like, we can't see the Kremlin anymore. They traveled about the half the distance, and I was like, he was desperately just clicking, and we missed him.
Right.
We weren't actually sure if they were going to have the alpha.
And then,
We
of
were
course, it
lucky
hits.
he knew off the way he was left clicking.
So, of course, they hit. Kremlin goes down. Cheers on your Discord. And then all of a sudden, Stronk says, well, here, take my Kremlin as tribute.
Yeah, I mean, the game was over like 5 minutes before this, but we had to do something, so.
Did you guys know the Shimo was there? Like before the proxy came in?
I didn't know he was right there. Like, Stronk knew he was over there, we just didn't know how close he was. But Stronk knew that he was walking into a shim, we just didn't have a choice, really.
I just couldn't, from Raptor and our perspective, we couldn't believe it. We're just like, all right, you did all of this to get that Kremlin down, and then your own Kremlin, of course, this is moments before the Kremlin's moving, the momentum's a thing. It's not like he saw the other Kremlin and said, well, let me just jump in. But it just felt real bad because it's like, if he would have just kept backing up a little bit instead of going forward, I mean, who knows, right? Could he have...
Yeah, the shim can probably still rush him no matter what. And we kind of were waiting for the shim to rush him.
Okay.
Right, because we've just rushed their Kremlin. So, like, it's rushing is in the air now, so...
Mhm.
And we have a single Kremlin against the shim.
Hey, but...
I actually have a question.
Oh, please.
Why did you guys push the Vermont in to see what the shimmy that was still alive?
Right here, Pitbull, yeah.
Like,
Battle ends in 5 minutes.
I do remember, I believe you guys were on the cap win condition. If the Vermont, I do believe, does live. Like, I know nothing ever changes, or nothing ever stays exactly the same, but what was the decision to push the Vermont into a shimmy and the Salem?
Yeah, I mean, so they have the Des Moines on B, and our Brisbane is protecting A, so we know we don't have any radar over there. So they can put a destroyer on the cap, have it smoke up, pop radar, and we can't do anything to defend that cap.
You're talking about B cap.
Yeah, sorry, on B. So B is like, we don't have any radar on it, so it's just lost. So we can either sit with our Vermont over top of it and hope we get some blind salvos, or just kind of pray something happens and step.
Right. I mean, like, I get that it was definitely do or die.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, from our
But
perspective,
the poor Vermont just went by himself. Like, even I felt bad for him.
Yeah, we were gonna have a destroyer head over there for a while, but we had some miscommunication, and then daring and stuff got spotted, so people didn't rotate. But
I understand the call though, because like from our perspective, we were looking at the same thing. Like we realized they have to push Vermont into C, and when they do that, because they're gonna lose B no matter what. But we can't get into A, so the only thing they can do is put something in C, and that's the Vermont's the only real piece that you have, unless you take a destroyer with them. But I think we had seen both destroyers in B relatively.
You had,
like,
they got radar
recently.
Okay.
So we're at this point we're trying to decide, do we move the Salem in, try to DPM the Vermont down? We're kind of worried about the Vermont going all the way through and getting behind on the Des Moines. So that's why we moved DM forward to the next island as well.
Yeah, Franstar was very cautious the way he was playing that Des Moines the entire game. And that's not a criticism. It was just something I noticed.
Yeah.
He's kind of the
Franstar's-
anchor for that strat.
Yeah,
though. He has
this
to be.
strat heavily relies on that Des Moines never dying.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose that mid radar, then you just
game over.
You can't take B back.
unless somebody makes a bigger mistake on the other team.
And I have a feeling you guys ingrained that into his head, right? Like, you must not die.
Like, understood.
Okay. I mean, he's a good player too. I mean, I've known him for years. If I remember right,
when you
he's...
look at almost everyone's north strat, is primarily you're looking to get a pick either on a destroyer or something, or you're trying to pick that island eventually. Just get map control and pick that island.
Just getting to that island is really tough.
That slightly unrelated question. The little red symbols on the mini-map next to like my ship, what is that for?
That's a heart icon, and that's saying that you're low. So right now, if I pause, the daring, I can see who El Guapo has a heart icon. He's quite low. You're quite low. You've got that heart icon. It just gives me as a player, if I'm playing a random battle, of course, clan battle, whatnot, that little extra, hey, this guy's quite low. I might be able to take him out in 1 or 2 hits.
You
Oh,
get
that makes sense.
You get a torpedo.
Right, yeah.
Yep. You get the heart for that.
The bonus life.
This is a mini-map mod by Battleframe, is the name of it on Aslanes. I don't know about Mod Station exactly, but it's also what shows you the radar, alert on the pop up there. If you saw that, like
Right on the right side.
On
Yeah,
the
you're
mod
within
station,
radar range.
We didn't have the auto spy map back until this weekend, I think. Yeah, I think it came back on like Friday.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Whereas on Aslanes, he had it updated pretty darn quick.
I know a few of us were talking about we need to go get Aslins.
Hey, I mean, if you get used to playing, regardless of the discussion, mods, no mods, etc., I'm all for mods, but when you get used to playing a game a certain way and it looks a certain way and things behave a certain way, when those mods suddenly don't work, if the game feels a little foreign, and sometimes it's just enough to screw things up for you.
I mean, I get people that are purists, but I think when you're playing at this level of competitive, you're looking for really any edge.
Yeah, you need an edge.
If you're not playing with certain mods, you're handicapping yourself, really.
Yep,
Yeah, I remember a
exactly.
clan battle season a few seasons ago where the shot timer was broken, and we all had to do that math in our head. Like, do we have win con? Are we one cap? Do we know?
And that's tough because then you have to start doing math really quickly.
Yeah, under
Kind
pressure.
of like everything else is going on, yeah.
Yeah, it's less about knowing if you're going to win as knowing how long do I have until I have to make something happen.
Right.
Mhm. Now, back in the stream, we're watching the replay render. Again, I can't really have that, unfortunately, for you guys to see in the Discord right as it. But, I mean, we're just kind of watching all the things. In this game, there were so many just dominoes that happened, you know? Um, those beautiful Vermont shells on the Des Moines and then on the Salem. Mr. Bean full sending into sea.
Yeah, we just tried to make things happen way too quick.
God, please, no!
Yeah, I did feel
We
like
just-
that when I saw you moving. I felt like you're trying to force something.
Oh yeah.
I
And I
think
was-
in retrospect, instead of going through the gap and sea, if you turn south after coming off the Dorito Island and you like go where the Kremlin is and go next to them, I think that gives us fits. Because I think you get to kill our Kremlin. And then it's just a bow and fight between the two Salems.
Yeah,
So you
I
have, like,
think
the
if I
extra ships
just
there.
make a right turn, go bow south in sea, I can still get shots.
Yeah.
And thanks, guy, by the way, for Bo and the raid. Welcome aboard, everybody. We're just going over. This is NOCAP versus BONKZ. They're game 3. This is what decides it for this series, and BONKZ continues, and NOCAP is knocked out. Yeah, when I saw Mr. B, when I saw you coming off that island originally, I thought, okay, like you guys were saying, he's probably going to curve south. And then I went and looked at something else, and then I looked at the mini map, and I'm, wait, what? Why are you there?
Yeah, no, south would have been 100% the better choice. But one thing that I saw recently is that shot was what 30.6 kilometers from your Vermont,
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
and I think that takes over because our shot was under 30. I think it was 29 and change.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one might take over the crown of the longest
Longest KOTS kill.
shot, at least on NA, I think.
Oh, okay.
So shame to lose the match and that record in one go, but
Wow, thank you very much for the gifted subs there. Oh my goodness, Dutch.
You had that record from our match all the way back in Northern Waters like 2 years ago, no?
yeah, that was Veg that had that one with his EM.
It's actually so interesting to me that how tied these like matches have been in the records and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, I mean, we all kind of know each other, and that's the fun part. You know, everybody's got one or two clans or people that they don't really get along with, but for the most part, we all kind of get along and enjoy playing. Like, we want them to be good games. No one wants a stomp.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
you
they
know-
were the ones that knocked us into the losers bracket last CODs.
oh, okay. Makes sense. Yeah, you guys have all that, you know, because you're the player of that team. For me, it's man, what happened? Hey, you know, sometimes it's hard to keep all that straight. But this was a really good replay to look at. I mean, you know, Bean, I know, you know, hey, stuff happens. But beyond that, like those epic Vermont shots on the two cruisers, and then the absolute heroic YOLO charge of that Gumo. Oh my god. Right? Like, almost got you what you exactly needed to catch back up.
Almost.
And then, while that happens, Kremlin goes and dies.
Yeah, he was dead anyway, but yeah.
One of the most interesting things about WoWs in general and WoWs competitive for me is just how every match is sort of this long string of small decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like a mistake, like one of those decisions is a mistake and it gets punished right away. Other times you make a certain decision, but you don't see the result of it until, 5 minutes later.
Exactly. Was it yesterday? The one that we covered yesterday, what the heck was it? Trying to read my handwriting. I suck. Reading my handwriting. MHG epoxy. Uh, epoxy just moved forward with a ship that wasn't supposed to, and 10 minutes later, game is over. Like just something small like that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to
Incredible.
this point and like the strats almost don't matter as much as just how cleanly can you play your game.
Right.
Like the strats and trying to pick something is only to put pressure on someone to make a mistake. And it's just, can you play a clean game at that point?
Yep. Yep. Agreed. And here we go. We're gonna see there's the Gumo rush on the Kremlin, about to get pulled off, and you can see I think I see what happened with your Kremlin, Mr. Bean. It looks to me like he thought that Todd was gonna continue around south and rush him, so he moves forward, dodge that, with the anticipation perhaps that the Shima's behind him.
That's what I was
I
asking.
didn't think we were expecting him to come from behind. We were just knew we needed to step on a cap.
Okay, and that also makes sense too, right? Like as you said, Pitbull knows you can't get B. So he's got to get off of B. You got to make something happen. You got to get on C. Gumo's going to die. There's only one person that could step on the cap too. Makes sense. Kremlin down. And then all of a sudden, there you are. Boop. Wow.
I think also the other calculation there is if the Shima's not right there and he thinks he's like in the middle of the cap, going south, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you probably don't eat as many torpedoes. And I believe he ate daring torpedoes too as he was like turning in.
I think he ate one of them, yeah.
Yeah, so that was already kind of like knocking a little bit of his HP down. But if the Shima's further away than that corner, then that's probably 2 shots that you get on the Shima. And you kill the Shima and it's at least a trade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his secondaries almost picked up the trade.
Yeah, and then like I
Close.
mean, it's kind of what I was
The
saying.
Vermont
earlier,
shells
with,
were
like,
pretty close. Too. I think
the
they
string of
a lot of them
decisions,
bracketable.
right? If that Shima had died, then the Vermont can push into C for free. Because the
Yeah.
Shimas would end up killing the Vermont.
Yeah. So many what ifs. This was a game where at the end, Raptors even like, Zath, you need to get the replay on this and talk through it. So, thank you guys for coming in and talking through. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we hang it up?
I think that's it for me, at least. The whole series was really good, and GGs, and thanks for the scrims, the games, everything.
Oh god, those scrims. Oof.
A lot of time effort.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good.
no,
It was
good,
fun.
Good luck rocking out for NA.
Appreciate it.
We're rooting for you.
That's right. Hashtag pray for NA. BONKZ is 3rd place. So you guys are going to be involved next weekend and hopefully the weekend after. I don't know how all that's going to work.